Hello, my vacuum cleaner chums. How are you? This video is all about the Dyson YDK motor. The motor fitted to the DC04, DC07, DC14 and DC33, and the cylinders are very closely linked as well. It's basically any non-digital Dyson motor. Now, a few people have asked me if I can do a little video about this and how it all works. So I thought I would give it a go, because I actually have a DC07 in for repair. This is my aunt's that went bang and stopped working. Indeed, it was dead. So that motor came out. That's been kept to give it a post-mortem at some point. But I got given sort of this kind of one. I got given to refurbish. So, and it has a working motor, so I quickly put it in just to check that there was nothing electrical wise. And also to show you what a motor with dodgy bearings sounds like, because this has them. So it's all hooked up nice and safely. Obviously don't lick any of those because they won't taste very nice. Taste of death. So it's going to be very loud because there's no filter or sound deadening, but you want to listen to the wind down noise. Just listen for the wind down. Turn your volume down a little bit. Hear that? That's the sound. I'm just going to unplug this quickly. Drop your four-way. That's the sound of a motor with dodgy bearings. It'll probably keep running for ages and ages and ages like that, but because obviously I want to refurbish this, I bought two new motors. This is one of them, because in this video where I show how to strip down Dyson motors, it's all very well and good, but it is possibly slightly pointless, because you can buy these from eBay very cheaply, and these are what I use. They are the Qualtex NTR 299. There is a slightly better version called the 240, but it's one-handed, hang on. But I've never had any issues with these. Some people don't like them. I think if you go through a lot of them you'll have issues, but I only go through 3 or 4 a year, and I've never had one back. So this is what a brand new pattern Dyson motor looks like. It's 1600 watts, not the 1400 watt of the normal one. As you can see, it's very shiny, very new, and very lovely. So I'm not going to film myself fitting this. I might do a quick after of it on, although you'll know what it sounds like because it'll just sound like a working Dyson. It doesn't sound any different. But that will get my auntie's one working, and obviously I'll fit the other one to my purple one once I've refurbished that. And we shall get on with stripping down some motors. So, on to the first one. And here is the motor with the grumbly bearings from that very machine. The machine itself is long gone now. I did fit a brand new motor in it and sold it. But I kept this. So let's strip it apart. We won't repair it, we'll just have it apart and see what the bearings are like. Now, to have this apart, we shall need a socket set, a bearing puller, a crosshead or a Phillips screwdriver, and a hammer. Let's get to it. So the first thing we need to do is take off the fan case. And this is what the hammer is for. Now all you do is you just tap around the edge, and eventually the fan case will pop off. One more. There we go. Lots of bits and bobs in there. And we'll pop that to one side. Now we can see the fan itself. Put my hammer down and my phone's falling over now. Let's pop it there. There we go. So this is the fan inside the motor. Now we need to find a socket, and I think it's a 10 actually. No. Is it an 11? No. It's a 12. In fact, it's not even a 12mm, really. It is, but it feels a little bit loose. Let's see if I can find an exact match. No, I think it is a 12. That's all I can find in my socket set. It might be something different, but a 12mm will do. Let me just pop this together like so. Now it's a left hand thread, so do up is undo. You might also need a cloth. And how you do it is you hold the fan with the cloth. There we go. And in doing that, you don't kill your fingers while you undo the nut. So there we go, there's the nut off. And then the fan lifts out. There's a spacer washer that goes there. Let's lay this out in some order. And there's another washer, a spacer piece, and now we can see the underside, and we need to take off these 2 screws. Got hold. This is, I'm going to call it the back plate. I've no idea what the official term is. Obviously these aren't meant to be stripped apart, so call it the back plate. It's what obviously makes all the suction whoosh around and cause the airflow. I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing this, I'll be honest. Perfectly decent motors are only £12, brand new. This is just to see how it all fits together. So we now have the top of the motor, and there's 4 more screws that need to come apart. So 1, he says. All these screws are the same size, which is good, so you don't need to worry too much about what goes where if you were to take this apart to try and fix it. So we're not going to bother here. This is just to show you how it should work and how it all goes together. 2, number 3, and let's pull that out of the way. Number 4. There we go. Now, this is a little bit tricky because the bearings hold it in. It'll hold it in either end, but this is the end that really holds it in. So let's get the hammer again and working around. It's not really doing anything, is it? Let's see if I can get the bearing puller anywhere close. No. No. Let's try a screwdriver. It's been a while since I've done one of these. I have done it before. Like I said, it's not... There we go. Stick a screwdriver inside there. That has just moved. There we go. And that will fall off and reveal this, which is the brains of the motor. Now, before we go too far, I'm going to take the carbon brushes out, because otherwise they're just going to ping in. Again, I wouldn't recommend changing Dyson carbon brushes, because once they get to that stage, that's never going to clean up. And once you get to know that it's knackered, I do have a knackered blown motor that I shall show you. Damage is already done, and it is too late. So I can feel that's knackered already. Quick tap on the end of the motor. Has the armature out. This is the armature of a Dyson YDK. See, that's not actually too bad. That probably will run for a fairly long time. But it's the bearings causing the issue. This one feels very dry. That one, ooh, that one barely moves at all. Look, if I hold this here, you can see it sort of free spins. This one doesn't. So let us get the bearing off and I'll show you what it looks like. I just need to find the appropriate socket to use my bearing puller. This was a It's only a cheap puller from eBay. It was a tenner. Invaluable for changing bearings on vacuum cleaners, really. Certain models always go. Pretty much every single one of my turbo powers I've replaced the motor bearings on, because they do dry out. It makes a heck of a difference. So you fit the puller. Now that will slip off. It is a little bit annoying, but you get used to it, and you literally just do up. Oh, that's undo. Do up this bit, and eventually it will. You can hear it now. I've got to hold it like this, otherwise it pops off. Off it goes. Oh, come on. Not quite. This one's hanging on. Oh, come on. Normally, when they get off of the shank, there we go, they pop off. And there is the bearing. It doesn't move at all now. What is it? Can we see any markings on it? Aha. Because you could replace this. I mean, I don't quite know why you would. There you go. It's a 608Z, which is the same as a turbo power bearing. You can buy these very, very cheaply. I know Qualtech sell them because I bulk stocked up on them. When I run out, I'm going to have to bulk stock up on them again. Let's have this one off as well, just for completeness of the video. So I've got to back this off a fair bit, because obviously it needs to go past the bit that it goes on to. So you could, I mean, if it was your own machine, you could replace the bearings. Why not? If you're selling it, I wouldn't, because I don't know, you'd have to be pretty sure it was a good motor to want to replace the bearings and then sell it. And I'll be honest, although this is not a bad motor, it doesn't take much for them to suddenly not be a good motor, because the tolerances are so tight that, I don't know, I wouldn't feel comfortable, especially not when a brand new motor costs 15 quid. When you're doing old hoovers or vacuum cleaners where you just can't get an old motor, then yes, definitely replace the bearings. That's a 608Z as well. So there's our bearings. There is a naked armature. There's a circlip there. Wonder what happens if we take that off. Probably nothing, I'll be honest. Yeah, nothing's moving. That washer sat underneath that bearing. So there we go. We'll pop that over there. And then there's a little bit more on here. If I find a screwdriver, we can undo the screw that holds the thermal cutout on. Now, I have known these to blow, and you could just swap that out from a good motor, but again, it would have blown for a reason. This is the thermal cutout itself. Here, it's basically just, well, it's a thermal fuse. Thermal fuse. So when that goes pop, it kills the circuit. It's heat resistant, heat reactive, however you want to call it. Let's see if I can slice it open without cutting my fingers off. Lots of vacuum cleaners have this. They normally look a bit different, I'll be honest, but every vacuum cleaner will have this somewhere, and you really shouldn't take it off. I've seen Henry's with it off, but I don't know, you should probably keep it on. It's obviously there for a reason. So there is the innards of the fuse. If I just see if I can pop this protective covering off, because this isn't going back in the machine ever. There we are. I think that's it there. That bit of metal in there probably is what fuses it. Yes. That wire goes, I'm not even showing you, that wire goes to that bit, and that wire goes to that bit, and obviously this little bit of paper, I suppose, in the middle is the link. I don't think I can get it apart anymore without damaging myself or it. So we won't. I said, oh, hang on. Let's see if I can prise this bit off. No, it'll be stamped together. So that's the thermal fuse. That is a capacitor, I suppose. Suppressor capacitor. But unlike Hoover ones, I've never known that to go at all. In fact, I wonder if it's the same as the... This is the one from the Sensortronic that I've kept in my toolbox in case... I don't know, that's 0.22 something microfarad. That's 0.47. Higher voltage. What other markings have we got? 40, 100, 21. That's 25, 85, 20. Anybody tell me if that would be a suitable replacement? But see, it bridges the live and the neutral. This is live, so no, it's probably not going to be. Right, what have we left? Well, we have the coil. The problem with the coil, and I can't take it out because it is crimped into the motor. You can see there, probably there. It's stamped in. It is part of the moulding, but there's the field coil. That's what provides the electricity to spin that around inside of it. In old Hoovers, that gets gummed up. And if you have a slow running old, my 262 did it, full of grease. So you cleared all that off. So there's the field coil. That wire can be quite handy for just tying stuff up if you decided to strip down a field coil for its wire. You see each coil end goes to one of the contacts, and that's what energises it and spins stuff around. So there we go. All of the bits of a motor laid out. A genuine Dyson YDK right here. Right, on with the next bit, I suppose. I have another motor to show you that's done something that I've never seen before. Here goes. Now this next motor is a bit interesting. It came from a DC-33 that apparently just stopped working and smelt of burning a little bit. Here is the motor. It is an MTR240. Now, they are, in the cheap Dyson motor circles, might be a few more, I know of two cheap motors. The MTR240, which is supposedly the better quality one, and the MTR299, which is the cheaper one. Both obviously look identical on the outside. However, now I've got these side to side. The 299 has a black in a cage that holds the coil. 240 has a red one. And on this 240, it's blown the coil wire off of the thermal cutout. The actual armature itself looks fine. It's a bit charred, but has life left in it. But yeah, it's blown that clean off. So that's interesting. I thought I'd include this in this video, that the supposedly better motor has failed, and now I'm about to stick a brand new 299 in for the customer. So there we go. That's another one ticked off the list of things that could possibly go wrong with the Dyson motor. And here it goes indeed. So this is that motor that's blown its coil wire off. Let's take it apart and see how different it is to a genuine Dyson. We'll compare. So oh, that was a bit easier. So, a fan case off. All that's just me doing it so I don't bin it. Let's lay that out there. So here we have the fan. Looking pretty similar, let's be honest. I think it's... Ow. I haven't been bothered to get my cloth. Oh, there we go. See, that's it. It hurts your hand trying to clamp onto that bit. Oh, that one's turning itself. Don't you dare. Alright, put your finger in the hole. So there's the nut. There's the fan. That's not bad. There's a bee on that fan. I didn't write that bee. To be or not to be, nobody cares. What else have we got? So we have the same sort of bits and bobs. 2 screws here. This all looks very similar, I'll be honest. Take these screws out. Ba, ba, ba. So as I said in the previous bit, which I filmed yesterday actually, I'm not going to reuse this because that wire's obviously gone pop for a reason. And so for the £13 that the new motor costs, I can't be bothered. So here is the airflow part. SQPL. Obviously this is a non-genuine Qualtex, and here we have the motor. Now this does spin very nicely, but this is different to the genuine Dyson article, which is here, because I've only just filmed this part. This video is all a bit of a mishmash. It had the screws going from the inside, so through there. This one has the screws on the outside, so let's have those out. Obviously they can't, it won't be identical because it's not allowed to be identical. In fact, actually, although I'll finish taking this screw out, let's take the carbon brushes off first, just because otherwise they'll fly out everywhere. Now that's interesting, that flung out much easier. Now these are showing signs of being hot, but they're very good. They're also a little bit crumbly, but they fit on a bit differently. There's a contact there. That part attaches to, which is interesting. So lots of life left in this motor, I'll be honest. But again, there's just not much point in keeping them. I've got the next and probably last segment of this. I'll show you why you can't really tell until it's too late. Hopefully, unless it's knackered in another way, to replace the carbon brush. It isn't like in a ye olde worldy Hoover. Your old juniors and seniors that are 400 watts spin nice and slowly. You can tell when the carbons are failing because it just slows down. Doesn't perform, slows down. You can go and buy some carbon brushes off eBay. You can't go to your local Hoover service centre anymore because they definitely don't exist anymore. And you can put in your little carbon brushes and it'll work fine. It won't have done any damage. It's all just built to be repaired. These, I mean, this is 1600 watts. The bog standard Dyson ones are only 12 to 1400. I think they're all 1400s. By the time it even gets close, damage is done. Right, so we'll prise this off. It's already been a little bit of plastic that's pop off. That bodes well, doesn't it? Come on, don't care how you come off. Yeah, I'll just snap that bit off. This isn't as well built as the other one. I guess we'll just keep going until something gives. That's not actually moving. I'm just bending this plate. Ow! Ooh. Fiddlesticks! Bastard! Right. There we go. So, ooh, one end plate, like so. Right, that's painful. So there we go. This has seen 2 years use. As you can see, the bearings are fine. They're a 608Z as well. I might pop these off. Ah, now that's interesting. I say interesting, nobody's ever going to do it, especially not on a replacement MTR 240 motor. Because what's the point? Oh, I need to be 14. Well, no, let's be 14mm. Nobody's ever going to replace. Well, maybe in about 30 years when you can't get a YDK motor, because as soon as Dyson stops selling them, you know they'll go obsolete. Qualtex won't be long. It'll probably be a little while though. These have a little rubber cap, and I like these little rubber caps because it means that you can pop it off. These ones have got a little plastic cage in them that I have seen before, and I might do this off camera because I need to see what I'm doing. You take the little plastic cage out, fill that full of grease. You can see there's a little bit of grease on there already. It does do that though, but you can, with a little bit of fiddling, I might do this off camera, but you need to get a little screwdriver and reseat all the balls. Maybe this is a bit of a pain. I was going to keep this and add it to my turbo power collection, but I think I'd just scrapped it. But you could, with enough perseverance, line all those balls back up, pop this little plastic cage back in, and put that on and lube them up. The genuine bearings don't have that. But I've knackered it, so you would have to really want to do that, let's be honest. You would have to have an actual reason. The things like Henry bearings, they're nicely greasable because they don't have the little plastic cage holding it. That's a cheap bearing, I think. Non-cheap bearings don't need that plastic cage. This has got some remains of what I imagine is locking compound in it. That's probably why it didn't come off. There's the other one. I might just keep that one as it is because that will be reusable. So here's the armature. Those will be balancing marks, so it spins true. But these would have been stamped out in the hundreds of thousands. There'll be some 10-year-old child making these in Happy Factory number 7 in China. So, what else have we got? Well, we have the thermal cutout. Again. And if we compare that to the genuine Dyson article, I'm not going to tear it all apart, but we have 4121, 250 volts. This, the non-genuine was 275. 0.22 microfarad, it's 275 VAC. Yeah, so yeah, they're identical. I imagine that's identical. Certainly looks it from here. As you can see, the cage is almost identical to get around the copyright planners. The Dyson one doesn't have a hole there. The non-gen does have a hole. Oh, you can see the mouldings are slightly different there and there. This one's a little bit chunkier. That would have literally been done just to get past the copyright. And the other thing about these non-genuine motors is that the cables are longer, which does make fitting it a little bit easier. And again, the same as a genuine article, you can't get that out. See, it's charred that bit ever so slightly when it's come out. So there we go. What can we compare? Well, not a lot really. This is the genuine Dyson, this is the copy Dyson. It's the same size, the same number of fins, the same height. Genuine Dyson has round holes, this one doesn't, and the finish is better on the genuine Dyson. But again, they're the same size. Obviously that one's a bit bent now. Nothing to see there. They're identical apart from the copy one has a cutout and the genuine Dyson has a dimple to locate it. There's a locating dimple, that has a locating cutout. There really is nothing to show you. The fans, the Dyson one's a genuine one, they're the same size, same height, except the genuine Dyson one has a little cutout there. The Qualtex one doesn't. It does actually, it's just a different size. Yeah. Literally, that is side by side comparison. In fact, hang on. There we go. Anybody that watches my rebuild, my rebuild fed on Manchester Vax knows I like my exploded diagrams. So, genuine, non-genuine. Fan case, fan nut, top washer, focus, fan, back washer spacer, the fan screws, back plate, armature, bearings, screws to hold this back plate on, then actual motor housing and coil, obviously, carbon brushes, thermal cutout, and the screw for the thermal cutout. There we go. Everything you wanted to know, possibly didn't even think you cared about, but you care now, don't you? Please care about genuine and non-genuine Dyson motors. But again, it's a bit academic, because why would you do this when you can go and buy a perfectly decent one for £13.99? Might last 1 year, might last 5. Of all the ones I've used, this is the first one I've had back, and I was fully expecting it to be properly burnt out, but it wasn't. I don't know how it was used. It could have been absolutely abused. There was a bit of plaster dust in the machine. Who knows? I'll be honest, who cares? It's a gamble. If I get one blow up, I go, oh, I'm very sorry. Tell you what, bring it over, I'll put a new motor in it. I'll pay £13 for a new motor, put it in for no charge, because I would have sold the machine for 60 quid. It's still worth it. Of all the machines I've sold, I have not had to replace a single motor that I have put a new motor in, shall I say. Obviously, the ones that I've sold where I haven't had a new motor in it, a couple have gone bang after a couple of months. Bring it back, I'll put a motor in it. I'm still quids in the long run. So there we go. One more part to do. And now we come on to possibly the most textbook case of motor failure, the one that you're all going to have seen, you're all going to have had, and that is burning out. We have this innocent looking DC07 here, Origin. It looks very nice. However, if we take off the cyclone, pop up the filter housing, which is slightly broken, so it should be a bit easier, he says, and turn it on, did you see the sparking? You can't smell the smell or see the smoke. But that is dead. That's pretty much burnt out. It might last a couple of weeks, might last a couple of seconds, it might explode now. Let's have a look at the motor, because I bet I know why it's doing it. And here is the motor from that Dyson. On the face of it, it doesn't look as bad as I thought it might. You can tell the segments that are burnt out there, closest to the camera. There's also the carbon brushes are chipped. This is a genuine YDK YV2200. Should we have a look at it in more detail? First, let's take the carbons out. So I have a hunch as to why it has gone. Whether my hunch is correct, it isn't on that side. Hang on. Might be completely wrong. I might be barking up the wrong tree, but you saw it run perfectly. So as you can see, neither is particularly lovely, but neither is as knackered as I thought it would be. However, this one hasn't got as much meat as that one, and I'm just wondering if we scrape down ever so slightly. I was hoping that the bit of metal would be poking out, but it's not, because the innards of a carbon brush, there's the wire that obviously goes into the carbon brush, and normally that is what pokes out and knackers the motor. But that one's not, so I think this is actually armature failure. Oh, you're not coming off as easily as the last, are you? You've got to squeeze it. There we go. I'm not going to talk you through this again. We'll just get on with it. You see me take two apart. This is nothing different. I just want to get the armature out. Yeah, whatever. La 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 la. Get off. Get off. La 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 la. Yeah, I've seen it before with the wire innards from the carbons poking out, and that is what I always thought caught on the armature and knackered it. But I'm wondering if maybe the commutator, the round spinny bit, has worn out, basically. So again, I've seen that it just wears and wears and wears and wears and wears, and it gets so thin that it then doesn't become insulated. Each segment, and I'll show you actually, from what I know, each segment is electrically insulated from the other. So as it spins, each segment is a pulse through the carbons, or the carbons provide a pulse of electricity to it, which spins it, sort of pushes it around. You know, a magnet, when you hold each opposing side of a magnet to each other. That's what causes it to spin around. So the bearings are spotless. So in there is each segment is insulated. And what I reckon has happened is that those ones there have worn down a bit, although it doesn't look like it to the naked eye, but you can see the damage. That's all that takes to cause all that sparking. And obviously these ones, this isn't the one I screwdrivered up, it's not sitting 100% well, and that's just enough to cause it to spark like a bastard. I mean, it feels smooth. I was hoping it would be completely mullered personally, but I was wrong, wasn't I? We can all be wrong from time to time. Oh well, that's not quite the ending to this video that I thought it would be, but we have seen. What have we seen? I can't remember now. We've seen lots of things. Obviously we've seen a pattern motor versus a genuine motor that had grumbly bearings, this, which is all sparkly, darkly, whitely, but not as bad as I thought. So maybe I would have carried on for ages. Probably could have got a few months out of it. Maybe I'll shortchange myself. I haven't. I'm glad it's out. Got a nice new one to go in. So there we go. Everything you could possibly want to know about a Dyson YDK motor. From all three of these featured in this video, I probably could have made one good motor. But I just don't quite see the logic when they're so cheap, brand new. I mean, the genuine Dyson one's only about 35 quid. So, I mean, it's all very well and good rebuilding proper vintage Hoover Junior motors, say, out of component parts, because obviously you can't get them new anymore. That's why I have two minted up ones just sat, just in case they come in handy. These have got a long time before they get to that stage. 'Cause I imagine the pattern ones, because they were so common, will be made for a blooming long while yet, because obviously all the tooling's done and paid for, and they can churn them out into thousands. These are going to be about for a long time. It's going to be, I'll be an old man, I reckon, by the time that these YDKs are obsolete, even though the machine that fits them will very soon be obsolete itself. The DC33 is the only Dyson, I think, currently in production that uses this motor. And it's going to be end of life soon. It's what's going to kill the clutches as well, because it's the last clutch machine. So I reckon give it 5 years, possibly, and Dyson will stop making the YDK. There'll be a load of genuine ones out there still for another couple of years. So maybe 15 years time they'll run out, and then it's pattern only. And that's when the youth of today, all you young ones watching this, I mean, I'm 30 now, if you're 13, 14 years old and you're a vacuum fan, as I once was, we all started somewhere, you wait, when you get to my age, suddenly this will be as difficult as trying to find a motor, or this precise part, for a Hoover Sensatronic from 1983. It's probably the same time period. So there we go. I wouldn't bother stockpiling Dyson motors. There isn't much point. But I'm hoping that this... I know somebody did ask for this. I can't remember your name. I'm very sorry. I probably would know it. But I don't want to say the wrong name and upset anybody. If you know who you are, please comment. It's thanks to you that I made this video, because I found it slightly interesting. I hope you have too. So yes, you can rebuild Dyson motors if you have enough with different problems to make one good one. And yes, you can replace the bearings. Obviously, to get the bearings back on, well, it's sort of stuck in there. Oh, yeah, that's come out slightly differently. What you have to do is you have to get your socket set. You have to find an appropriate size socket to go over, and basically you should have seen where it sat before you took it off, and you just tap 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 until it goes on. I want this bearing, bugger. Yeah, I'll do it after the video. That's how you replace them. You work out where they sit. I find a permanent marker on the side works, and then you can just line it up as you tap. You have to tap quite carefully, and you have to be careful to not knacker up that thread. Maybe even put the nut back on, like so, back it off, so the nut is what takes the brunt. Then with a socket, might even need a deep socket on some of them. If that sits down to there, yeah, you would need one of the deep sockets, or a spark plug socket would work well, but it wouldn't, because there you go, that way around it would, because you don't want to tap on the outer vase, you want to tap on the inner vase. So this is a 3/8 inch socket set that sits on there, etc. I won't do it now. I'm going to back that off now with the bearing puller, because I want to keep that bearing because it's good enough to be used on something else one day. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching this video, which is the longest, possibly most involved video I've made. This has been going on for a while now. I can finally get all the individual files off, knock them together, and you can watch it. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you soon.